Her body was broken, her spirit barely holding on. And for a moment, even nature seemed to turn its back. Deep in the forest, half submerged in cold mud, a forest ranger named Jack Taylor spotted what looked like roadkill. But as he got closer, the truth hit him like a punch. It was a young bobcat, alive, but just barely. Her spine had been damaged in a poacher's trap. Her hind legs dragged uselessly behind her. Every breath was a struggle. Every twitch, a silent scream. Back at the wildlife rescue center, things only got worse. Luna, as they named her, wouldn't eat. She wouldn't sleep. She lay curled in a corner, her muscles locked with pain, her eyes wide with silent panic. Vets debated hard options. She couldn't be released. Captivity would be torture. And euthanasia. It suddenly didn't seem like the cruelest path. But here's the thing about stories like these. They never unfold the way you expect. Just when it seemed like Luna's final chapter had been written, someone arrived. And what he brought wasn't medicine, but something far more powerful. No one at the sanctuary saw it coming. Not the vet who checked Luna's broken spine every morning. Not the volunteers who tried every trick in the book to get her to eat. And certainly not Luna herself, curled up in a corner, barely more than a shadow. Then came Emma. She wasn't a vet or a trainer. She was a wildlife documentarian, camera always hanging from her neck, heart always open to a good story. And that day, she wasn't alone. Walking beside her was Max, a Siberian Husky with a thick silver coat and eyes like pale blue glass. He had that calm confidence dogs carry when they've seen a lot and still choose to be gentle. Max wasn't supposed to get close to the enclosures. Sanctuary policy. But you try telling a seasoned husky what to do when his instincts say otherwise. He paused in front of Luna's pen, sat down, didn't bark, didn't whine, just looked at her, and for the first time in days, Luna didn't flinch. Her ears twitched, her nose lifted. She blinked, slow and unsure, and inched forward. Not much, just a few inches, but enough to make everyone freeze. No one said a word. It was like watching something sacred unfold. Emma quietly sat down beside Max. The staff watched from behind glass, half expecting Luna to retreat. But she didn't. She just stared for nearly an hour. The kind of staring that speaks without sound. That night, something even stranger happened. Luna slept. A full, deep sleep. Not the shallow, twitchy dozes she'd barely managed before, but a real, restful kind of sleep. Her body stopped trembling. Her breathing slowed. Her paws curled gently under her. The cameras caught everything. The next morning, they checked the footage 3 times to be sure. It wasn't just sleep. It was REM sleep. The kind her injured brain desperately needed to begin healing. The kind she hadn't been able to reach since the rescue. And Max, he slept too, right outside her enclosure, as if he'd done it 100 times before. Over the next few days, it became clear this wasn't some random moment. Every time Max visited, Luna perked up. She started eating again, but only when Max was around. She even began following his movements with her eyes, then with her head. Eventually, she'd shift her body to face him. It was more than fascination. It was comfort. And slowly, the wildcat who had once refused touch, food, and hope began to trust. Of course, no one could explain it. The vets offered theories, pheromones, familiarity, maybe the non-threatening posture Max always seemed to carry. But none of them really mattered. What mattered was simple. One animal had reached another in a way no human could. Emma started bringing Max more often. The sanctuary bent their own rules. How could they not? Every visit brought progress. Luna started standing, shaky at first, wobbling like a toddler. But it was something. She'd mimic Max when he sat. She started responding to his alert posture when he heard a sound. It was as if some part of her thought, if he's safe, maybe I am too. It wasn't long before staff stopped calling Max Emma's dog. He was something more now, a kind of gentle guardian, a bridge between worlds, a rescue in his own right. But this unlikely friendship was about to be tested by science, by ethics, and by fears that maybe this bond, as beautiful as it was, could become something dangerous. What started as a silent connection between a wounded wildcat and a calm husky quickly evolved into something deeper, something that even the most experienced animal behaviorists at the sanctuary couldn't explain. Luna didn't just tolerate Max anymore. She needed him. Every morning she'd wait by the edge of her enclosure, ears forward, eyes locked on the sanctuary gates. If Max was late, she'd pace. If he didn't come, she'd barely touch her food. Her appetite, her movements, her very emotional state, they all danced in rhythm with Max's presence. The staff, initially skeptical, started documenting every interaction. And what they discovered reshaped their understanding of emotional healing in wild animals. Luna was not just improving, she was transforming. Her muscle tone slowly returned. The way she moved, still clumsy, still uneven, began to show signs of coordination. Her weight stabilized, her eyes lost that haunted, faraway look. She even made small, playful sounds when Max was near, soft chirps and growl-like purrs that sounded more like a house cat than a wild predator. The most stunning part? She was healing in her sleep. After installing night vision cameras and biometric sensors, the sanctuary team found that Luna only entered full REM cycles when Max was present. The moment he left, her sleep quality dropped. Her heart rate became erratic, her body tense. But with Max nearby, even lying outside her pen, her body would ease into rest. One researcher said it best. This isn't just companionship. This is survival through connection. Emma, Ever, the storyteller, began documenting the unfolding rescue story herself. And what she captured was something extraordinary. In one clip, Luna watches Max intently as he lifts a paw in response to a rustle in the bushes. A beat later, she lifts her own paw, slightly delayed, slightly awkward, but unmistakably a mirror. Another video shows Luna responding to Emma's voice when Max does, cocking her head with the same puzzled expression. It was as if Max was more than a friend. He was a model for how to live. And yet, Luna was still very much a wildcat. She wasn't tamed, no collar, no leash. She didn't play fetch or beg for snacks. But she had become something else, a creature shaped by trauma, slowly rebuilding herself in the presence of a kind, steady soul. That's what made this story so remarkable. Their bond was real, but it also raised new questions. Was Luna's attachment to Max a sign of dependency? Could she ever live freely again without him? Was this bond healing her, or making her unable to survive without a domestic animal at her side? Some in the sanctuary whispered concerns. Others argued it was cruel to question something so clearly working. Emma, caught in the middle, kept her camera rolling and her faith in the relationship strong. Because what everyone could see was undeniable. Luna was not the same wildcat who came in broken and silent. She was waking up, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Every small moment with Max stitched together a part of her that had once felt unfixable. One afternoon, a staff member walked by and saw Luna gently licking Max's ear through the wire fencing. Not in hunger, not in dominance, just a quiet, grateful gesture. It was then that the sanctuary leadership realized this wasn't a temporary connection. And yet, the deeper the bond grew, the louder the ethical questions became. A decision would soon have to be made, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about animal welfare, captivity, and what it means to truly heal. As Luna and Max's bond deepened, so did the quiet murmurs around the sanctuary. What had begun as a miraculous rescue story was now stirring something else: debate, heated, emotional, and difficult. This is a wild animal, one biologist argued. She's not supposed to need a dog to survive. But what if she does? Emma shot back during a closed meeting. What if that's just her reality now? There were no easy answers. The team had always followed one guiding principle. A rescued animal should, whenever possible, return to the wild, or at least live in a way that honors its wild nature. And Luna, well, she was complicating that rule in the most beautiful, frustrating way. Her dependency on Max was undeniable, and yet her progress was also undeniable. Her recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional, almost spiritual. She had found not only comfort in Max's presence, but an anchor, a guide. Still, ethical concerns started to weigh heavily on the sanctuary leadership. To better understand the depth of Luna's attachment, and to assess whether it was healthy or harmful, they arranged a 24-hour separation between her and Max. Just one day, just one test. It was a disaster. From the moment Max was taken away, Luna's behavior changed drastically. She stopped eating. She refused water. She clawed at the door of her enclosure until her paws bled. Her breathing turned shallow, her movements frantic. By the 10th hour, she was lying curled in a corner, trembling. Max didn't fare much better. He howled through the night, refused commands, and scratched at the back door until he nearly dislocated a nail. By the time they were reunited, Luna collapsed beside him, exhausted. She didn't sleep. She crashed, deep, dreamless, her body surrendering to the only thing it trusted, his presence. The medical team reviewed her vitals. Stress hormones had spiked. She had developed a slight fever. They knew if they tried this again, it might break her for good. The experiment gave them their answer, but not their solution. That's when Emma made her proposal. I'll take them both, Luna and Max. I'll build them a sanctuary of their own, off-grid. Not a cage, not a backyard. A protected, semi-wild space. Somewhere Luna can roam but still feel safe. Somewhere Max can age in peace. It was an unorthodox idea. Sanctuary policy didn't allow adoptions of apex wildlife, especially not ones with histories of trauma. But this case was different. Luna wasn't just recovering. She was only recovering because of this one dog. And without him, they feared she would spiral again. So, after weeks of deliberation, the board voted unanimously. Emma was granted special permission to become Luna's guardian under a pilot exception program. A safe, wooded property in northern Washington was licensed and fenced according to wildlife standards. Veterinary oversight was arranged. Legal guardianship contracts were drawn up. Everything was official. Luna would go home, not to the wild, but to the only life that made sense for her now, beside Max. And when the day came, Luna didn't need coaxing. She walked out of the transport crate, looked around, then trotted straight toward Max, who was waiting with his tail wagging and his tongue lolling like a proud big brother. From that moment, their new chapter began. The sanctuary staff stood in silence as the two disappeared into the trees together, side by side. It wasn't traditional. It wasn't textbook. But sometimes rescue doesn't follow rules. It writes its own. And while Emma hoped they'd finally found peace, what she didn't know was that Luna still had a few more lessons to teach, ones no one could have seen coming. Life in their new home didn't begin with fireworks or grand gestures. It began with quiet routines, morning stretches beneath tall pines, slow walks along shaded trails, and Luna learning how to move again, one paw at a time. Her spinal injury had left her back legs weak, but her determination, unshakable. Emma watched in awe as Luna taught herself to move using her front limbs, sometimes dragging, sometimes hopping, often falling, but never quitting. She fell in love with the challenge. She was still a wild animal after all, And wild things don't beg for sympathy. They adapt. Max, meanwhile, became her shadow, her cheerleader, and her soft pillow on cold mornings. Whenever Luna struggled, he'd trot beside her, slowing his gait so she could keep up. If she collapsed mid-path, Max would curl beside her, until she gathered strength to try again. No bark, no rush, just presence. As the seasons passed, Luna transformed. Her coat grew full and glossy. Her eyes regained the light they'd lost. She began to pounce on bugs, chase falling leaves, and even playfully sneak up on Max, though her pounces looked more like gentle lunges. He never minded. He always let her win. But time, as it always does, began to catch up with Max. He slowed down. His playful energy faded. His legs, once tireless, began to wobble. He no longer ran. He ambled. He began to sleep longer, eat slower, and needed help up on cold mornings. And Luna noticed. The bobcat who once refused food, who once couldn't sleep without Max nearby, now became his caregiver. During thunderstorms, when Max trembled in his sleep, Luna pressed her body tightly against his. She began to rise earlier than him, sitting patiently by his side, nudging his muzzle until he stirred. When he coughed, she sat still. When he whimpered, she licked his ears. When his joints hurt too much to walk, she lay beside him in the grass, as if saying, "Then we rest here." Emma often watched this silent dance between them with tears in her eyes. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. A true reversal. Not out of obligation, but out of memory. Of knowing. It was as if Luna remembered what it was like to be held together by someone's presence. And now, she was holding Max. What made it all the more remarkable was the gentleness with which she navigated this role. She didn't smother him with energy. She didn't try to cheer him up with play. She adjusted. She matched his pace. She slowed her world to fit his. And in that choice, she showed the kind of love most humans spend their lives chasing. Emma captured dozens of moments, Max and Luna napping under the same cedar tree every afternoon. The way Luna would pause mid-path and look back, waiting for Max to catch up. Or the nights when Luna refused to sleep unless Max was snuggled at her side, just like she used to need him. In many ways, their friendship had matured into something beyond instinct. It became a partnership, rooted in a shared history of survival and a deep, unspoken understanding of pain, healing, and time. And while Emma knew their time together was finite, there was a grace to the way they embraced each day, without complaint, without drama, just love. But nature, ever the keeper of stories, wasn't done yet. One chapter was slowly coming to its close, and another, unexpected one, was quietly waiting to begin, carried in the tiny, trembling steps of someone new who would soon enter their world. Max passed away on a quiet morning, under the canopy of their favorite tree. The sky was soft with pale clouds, the air still. There was no struggle, just a long, slow exhale, and then silence. Luna stayed beside him. She didn't move for hours. Emma, heartbroken herself, didn't interrupt. She simply sat nearby, watching a bond dissolve into memory. Luna curled her body against Max's the way she always had, gently resting her head over his, as if trying to keep him warm, as if waiting for him to stir. But he didn't. And deep down, she knew. The days that followed were heavy. Luna moved less. She barely ate. She paced the house at night, sniffing Max's favorite spots, waiting, listening. Her sleep became restless again, her breathing shallow. The fire inside her dimmed. The animal that once healed through love was now breaking in silence. Emma feared Luna might never recover. After all, how do you heal from losing the one who taught you what healing meant? But the forest, ever mysterious, often has its own plans. About 2 weeks later, Emma received a call from a nearby ranger station. Another rescue. This time it was a tiny coyote pup, found whimpering near a riverbank, his leg tangled in a rusted trap. Barely alive, dehydrated, trembling with fear. Emma brought him home wrapped in a blanket, unsure how Luna would respond. A wild bobcat, even a bonded one, might not welcome a new animal so soon. Especially not a frightened, yelping pup that carried the same kind of hurt Luna once did. But something extraordinary happened. As soon as Emma laid the pup on a soft pad by the fireplace, Luna approached, cautiously, silently. She sniffed the air, then inched closer. The pup, too weak to lift his head, didn't react. He just let out a faint whimper. That sound struck something deep in Luna's core. She lowered herself beside him. No aggression, no curiosity, just presence. Emma held her breath. Luna stretched out slowly, gently nudging her forehead against the pup's back. Then, in one fluid movement, she curled around him, protectively, calmly. That night, for the first time since Max's death, Luna slept deeply, and so did the pup. Emma watched the two of them breathe in sync, their chests rising and falling together. It was a scene so familiar, it almost hurt. But it didn't. It soothed. It felt like the beginning of something important. Over the following weeks, Luna assumed a role no one could have predicted. She became the pup's guardian, not by force or routine, but by choice. She followed him around the garden, showed him where to drink, and stood beside him when he cried at night. When the pup limped, Luna walked slowly. When he tried to climb, she waited nearby, silent but ready. It was Max's love, reincarnated, not in the pup, but in Luna's actions. His legacy lived through her. The animal that once couldn't sleep alone now offered sleep to another. The once wounded soul had become a healer. Emma couldn't help but wonder. Maybe healing doesn't end. Maybe it simply moves forward, passed from one broken being to another. Maybe we don't get better, but we become better for someone else. And in that silent forest home, under the same cedar trees where Max had once grown old, the cycle quietly continued. Not as a dramatic ending, but as a soft, enduring rhythm of compassion. As Luna lay curled around the recovering pup, their breaths steady, the message was clear. True healing doesn't require perfection. It asks only for presence, for understanding, for choosing to stay. Sometimes the most profound bonds aren't the ones we plan. They're the ones that find us in our most broken moments. Luna and Max's story isn't just about a bobcat and a dog. It's about what happens when two souls, shaped by pain and survival, choose to walk alongside each other anyway. It's about how healing isn't always loud or visible. It can be quiet, soft, and built in shared silences. But now I want to ask you, have you ever felt saved by a connection that seemed impossible? Do you believe animals feel love and grief the way we do, or maybe even deeper? And what if true healing doesn't come from solitude, but from walking through the storm with someone who understands your scars? If this story moved you, you're not alone. There's a reason you're here. This channel is filled with real emotional stories of unlikely bonds, second chances, and the quiet beauty of life in the wild. So if your heart is still open, there's more waiting for you. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us for more stories that restore your faith in empathy, nature, and the invisible threads that bind us all.